Today we are going to discuss in this class ascending tracts. Some important ascending tracts of the spinal cord. Now, what is this ascending tracts? What does it mean? It is a sensory one. We have discussed it in the previous class. So, this sensory and the motor component of these tracts, it is carrying sensation from the peripheral tissue via the receptors, conveying these impulses to the higher center, that is the cerebral cortex. From the cerebral cortex, the commanding fibers, that are the motor fibers, it is coming downwards and it is doing its work through the motor component of the, that is the ascending tract and the descending tract. This is the two-way traffic, that is to and fro connection of the cerebral cortex via the spinal cord. That is towards the cerebral cortex and from away from the cerebral cortex, these sensory and the motor tracts are going and coming down. So this is the highway. You can say it is a highway. The white column, it is the highway of what which serves the purpose of both the sensory and the motor path. So one by one we will discuss the tracts, important ascending tracts. We have seen in the previous class that the white column contains these numerous ascending tracts. These are the dorsal column, medial lemniscus pathway, spinocerebellar tract, which is divided into, again, then comes the oligospinal tract, lateral spinothalamic tract, anterior spinothalamic tract, and the spinotectal tract. Okay, so these are the tracts, ascending tracts of the spinal cord. Now, before going in detail one by one of these tracts, we have to focus on some important keywords of this sensory pathway. What are those important key points that we have to remember for each and every tract? Okay, first, what should be the functional component of these tracts? From where the first structure it is involved in this sensory pathway. Okay, isn't it? The first component, what is that? It is the receptors. Who makes the sensation? For forming the sensory pathway, these receptors, which are present in the peripheral tissue. From these receptors, the peripheral process of a neuron, which receives this sensation from these receptors. What are those? The peripheral process of which ganglia? The dorsal root ganglia. The dorsal root ganglia. The peripheral process of this dorsal root ganglia, which is situated there outside the central nervous system. Okay. So this will receive, and where it will convey this? Inside the spinal cord via its central process. Then these are composed of the pseudo-unipolar neurons, which is branching. One is the peripheral process, another one is the central process. So through this central process, the sensation, where it is coming? Inside the dorsal great horn, because that is the sensory component of the spinal cord. Okay. From here, again, the axons. This central process, where it will go? It will go inside the dorsal gray horn. For what? To synapse there. To synapse, because we know there are the sensory neurons present inside the dorsal gray horn cell. Okay. So this central process will synapse there, and there it is known as the second order neuron. That means there are sets of neurons which carries the impulses to the higher center, that is the cortex. So this dorsal root ganglia, it keeps the first order neuron inside it. So that means the first order neuron, it is the neuron which receives the first sensory information via the receptors. Okay. Now the second order neuron. To second order neuron, focus here. This second order neuron, it is not exactly, sometimes depending upon the tract, this second order neuron, sometimes it is present inside the spinal cord in the dorsal gray horn, but sometimes in some pathway, in some tracts, it is present in the brainstem also. Isn't it? So, it is not confirmed that the second order neuron, it Okay, so you have to find for the second order neuron, but not only in the spinal cord, you have to find above, that is the brainstem also. Now from the second order neuron, the axons which are coming out, from these second order neuron cells, what it will do? As a rule, suppose this is the midline, here it is the left, here it is the right. The axons which emerges from this left half of the spinal cord, the axons have to pass to the contralateral side, and then it will ascend upwards. Okay, but this crossing of the axons of the second order neuron, it is also not necessary that each and every tract they will pass contralaterally inside the spinal cord. It is not like that. It will pass to the opposite side, but not mainly here in the spinal cord. It can go to the opposite side above also. So you have to keep this thing in your mind clear, that for the sensory information, suppose this is the left half of the body. So right half of the cerebral hemisphere, it will sense all the sensory information will be going towards the right side of the cerebral hemisphere. Similarly, the right side of the sensation, it is received by the left side. So that's why all the sending tracts have to cross to the opposite side for its destination to the higher center. Okay, so this thing is necessary for this dorsal column, this anterior lateral spinothalamic tract, this lateral spinothalamic tract. But this crossing, it is not necessary for all these tracts. These crossings are only present in those ascending tracts which reaches where? Up to the cortex. That means any sensation which is meant, any stimulus, it is meant as a sensation unless and until it is going to the cortex. That is, it attains the conscious level there. Suppose some other, we say unconscious proprioceptive impulses. So it will not go, this sensation, it will not go to the cortical area. It will go to the cerebrum below the cortex. So it will not attain consciousness. Consciousness will be not attained there at the cerebellar level. Okay. So that's why there will be no crossing of the fibers. So these things you have to keep in mind. Right side cerebral hemisphere, the modalities of sensation which are receiving, it is from the left side and vice versa. Okay. So these were some important key points before going in detail of these individual tracts. Now come to the pathway. Okay, dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. Where it is present? This pathway, it is present in the dorsal funiculus, isn't it? So it is present here. This side, this is the dorsal, this is the ventral, this is the left side, and this is the right side. So this part which lies in between the two posterior gray horns, this is the dorsal column. So we have discussed in the previous class that this pathway, it is for the ascending pathway only, and here it is the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. Okay, the full nomenclature, the tract which ascends to this dorsal funiculus, it is the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. So then come, what are the modalities of sensation which are carried through the cortical area by this pathway? Anyone? There are so many modalities of sensation, and what are the sensations which are carried by this dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway? By the dorsal column, that is the fine touch, the pressure. Look here, the fine touch, the pressure, the vibration sensation. 2-point discrimination. 2-point discrimination. Okay. Tactile localization and discrimination. 2-point discrimination it is. Then stereognosis. Stretching of the skin. And the very important modality of sensation, that is the proprioceptive impulses. Isn't it? We have divided these proprioceptive impulses for two different tracts, ascending tracts. One is conscious proprioceptive sensation and the another is unconscious. So you have to be very careful here in this tract which type of proprioceptive impulses you are feeding. It is the conscious proprioceptive impulses. If it is conscious, the unconscious proprioceptive impulses is also there, which will be carried by the spinocerebellar tract. Look here, this is the spinocerebellar, and we have discussed right now, the cerebellum, it is not the higher center, it is below that. So conscious level will be not attained for these proprioceptive impulses as these pathways, because dorsal column medial lemniscus, it is going straight upward towards the cortical area, cortex, that is the post central gyrus. We will see. So these are the modalities of sensation. So for these modalities of sensation, there must be some receptors also, isn't it? What are the, sometimes you are asked in the objective. So these receptors are also very important. So first, it is the Merkel test. All these are the mechanoreceptors. Merkel's test. It carries which type of sensation? Fine touch and pressure. Fine touch and superficial pressure. Be specific. Superficial pressure by the Merkel's test. Superficial pressure. Then comes the Meissner's corpuscles. Meissner's corpuscles. Which sensation it carries? Meissner's corpuscles. Anyone? Fine, again fine and discriminative touch. Fine and discriminative touch plus pressure plus vibration, fast vibration plus fast vibration. Then comes the Pacinian corpuscles. These Pacinian corpuscles are often asked in the objective. Pacinian corpuscles. It will receive which type of sensation? This Pacinian corpuscles. Tell me. Deep pressure and the, sorry, here it is the slow vibration, it is, and here it is the fast vibration. Then comes what? For the stretch and the pressure, some more receptors are present. They are the peritracheal nerve endings plus Ruffini's corpuscles. Both of them, this is what? Tell me. Both these peritracheal nerve endings and the Ruffini's stretching of the skin plus what? The pressure. This Ruffini's corpuscles mainly pressure. So these are the mechanoreceptors for the fine touch, pressure, vibration, stretching of the skin. Now a very important, that is the proprioceptive impulses. What are the receptors for the proprioceptive impulses? Anyone tell me? That means proprioception in this stimulus itself, it means the sense of the position of the body from which is coming from the muscle, the joints, the ligaments. So where are these sensory receptors present? These are present in muscle spindle. Muscle spindle and the Roufey's and the Golgi tendon organ. Golgi tendon organ. This Golgi tendon organ and the muscle spindle, both of these receptors, this muscle spindle which is present in the contractile part, that is the muscle fibers, and this Golgi tendon organ, it is present at the junction of a muscle with the tendon. This is the muscle fiber and here it is the tendon. So here it is present, this Golgi tendon organ. Okay, so this muscle spindle and the Golgi tendon organ, they are responsible for the which type of sensation? That is the proprioception. That means the sense of position which are coming from the muscles, the joints and the ligaments. And through this pathway, these proprioceptive impulses are gaining the conscious level, because through this pathway it will go up to the cortical area. Okay, so these were the some important receptors and the corresponding sensation which are carried by this dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. This is a diagram for the pathways. So, dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. In the previous class, we have discussed that in the dorsal column there are two tracts. There are two tracts, but these two tracts, which is the fasciculus gracilis. Medially, this is the fasciculus gracilis and laterally it is the fasciculus cuneatus, isn't it? So, this I have written here above T6 level and below T6 level. That means below T6 level there is only fasciculus gracilis. Only fasciculus gracilis. That means all modalities of sensation which we have discussed here, that are going through the dorsal funiculus and ascends upwards below the T6 level. What happens above the thoracic 6 or the T6 level, there is adding on the same sensation, the fibers which are coming above the thoracic 6 level in the spinal cord. So that's why there are two tracts, additional tracts, that is known as the fasciculus cuneatus. Cuneatus means C for cuneatus and C for cervical. So you will remember it is above the T6 level. So one by one, suppose this is the lumbar segment, that is the below T6, if it is the lumbar segment. So all these modalities of sensation, that is the fine touch, the pressure, the vibration, the conscious proprioceptive impulses, all any type of modalities of sensation received here. Okay. By the peripheral process, where it is here, it is the dorsal root ganglia. It is the dorsal root ganglia. It is the peripheral process which is receiving the impulse, the sensation from the receptors, passing to the posterior gray horn via its central root, isn't it? But look here. This central process of the dorsal root ganglia, it is not relaying, it is not synapting here. It doesn't synapse in the neurons which are present in the dorsal gray horn. It will ascend upwards. It will ascend upwards like that. Okay? It will ascend upwards like that. That is, this tract which is coming from the thoracic below level, it is on the medial side. On the medial side of the upper level. So, it is from the, suppose coming from the below T6 level, all the sensation, it is not synaptic here with the neurons. We have said that there are secondary order neurons, second order neuron present in the dorsal gray horn, but there is no synapse here in the dorsal gray horn. Then this axon, this is the central process, it will synapse where? It will synapse with the second order neuron cell, which is not sitting in the spinal cord, it is in the brainstem. For which pathway? This dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. It is very important point. It is the just opposite to the other ascending tracts. Suppose if it is a pain and the temperature pathway or the lateral spinothalamic, there will be synapse here and then the fibers will cross here, then and there in the spinal cord. But here the fibers ascend without synapsing in the dorsal gray horn, moving in the dorsal column, ascend upwards and it synapse with the second order neuron, that is the nucleus gracilis. What is this? Nucleus gracilis. Nucleus gracilis, why? Because this is the fasciculus gracilis. Because the fibers, all modalities of sensation are coming from the mid-trunk below. Now suppose this is the sensation, the same modalities of sensation, if it is coming from the upper segment of the spinal cord, then what will be the same? What it will lead to? Look here. Again, the same story. Here is the dorsal root ganglia. This is the central process. This peripheral process. This is the central process. Without synapsing here, it ascends upwards. In which column? That is the fasciculus cuneatus. Why? Because it is coming above the T6 level. The spinal cord section above the thoracic 6. So this tract, this funiculus, it is the fasciculus cuneatus. It will again upwards inside the medulla oblongata and here it will synapse with a second order neuron sitting over here in the medulla oblongata. This is the medulla oblongata with the nucleus cuneatus. So this is the second order. These are the first order. These are the first order neuron. This is here the second order neuron. Isn't it? So these tracts, this blue color, it is the fasciculus cuneatus. Fasciculus cuneatus, and this is the pink color tract, it is the fasciculus gracilis. This is the fasciculus gracilis. Isn't it? So just now I have said that the right side cerebral cortex sends the opposite, all sensation from the left side. Suppose this is the left side and this is the right side. So I have drawn here from the sensation coming from the body from the left side. So this sensation has to go to the right half of the cerebral hemisphere. That means both the tracts, whether it is the fasciculus gracilis or the cuneatus, it has to ascend upwards and both the tracts will cross here. From both the sides, because the tracts are coming from both the sides, again here it is the fasciculus cuneatus, here it is the fasciculus gracilis. Isn't it? So from both the sides the tracts are coming upward. This is the fasciculus gracilis and this is the fasciculus cuneatus. Now what happens? From both the sides the tracts unite, the fasciculus gracilis as well as the fasciculus cuneatus both fused and finally they cross to the opposite side. Same here. Both these tracts, the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus, it will merge and they will cross to the opposite side. So what is there? There is a crossing of fibers here in this medulla oblongata. Okay, here it is what? There is the crossing of the fibers. Which fibers? The sensation of the fine touch, the pressure, whatever sensation we have right now, All these modalities of sensation, they are crossing here at the medulla oblongata after synapsing here in the second order neuron. And what is this known as a very, very important point here? It is this crossing of the fiber, it is known as the internal arcuate fibers. Internal arcuate fibers. This crossing, it is present in the dorsal aspect of the medulla oblongata, that is behind the pyramid. Pyramid, it is on the ventral aspect, and the posterior aspect, these fibers were getting, that is the internal arcuate fibers. There must be external arcuate fibers also, because this is anatomy. Once I am saying it is internal arcuate fibers, then you have to find out the external arcuate fibers. We will discuss later that external arcuate fibers. So, what happens? This is the crossing of the sensory fibers. So this crossing here inside the brainstem, that is the medulla oblongata, it is also known as the sensory decussation. Sensory decussation. It is known as the sensory decussation. Okay. So this crossing of the sensory fibers, it is in the medulla oblongata, so it is also known as the sensory decussation. Now, after this crossing, after the formation of this internal arcuate fibers, what then? The fibers, it is moving upwards. It is moving upwards through the brainstem to reach the thalamus, to reach up to the thalamus, isn't it? It will reach where? It will reach up to the thalamus. Thalamus, where it is sitting? It is the thalamus. Okay. So, now these fibers, these tracts, which are the axons of this second order neuron, that is the nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus. So, these are the axons which are emerging from this second order neuron fibers. These axons will terminate in the thalamus there. And there it synapses with the third order neuron cells. Isn't it? Here there is the presence of the third order neuron cells. So it will synapse here with the third order neuron. So there is the presence of the third order neuron here in the thalamus. Once it reaches the thalamus, this thalamus, it is supposed to be the relay station. This thalamus, we will discuss detail about the thalamus in the lecture class. So, this thalamus, it is the relay station, supposed to be the relay station of all modalities of sensation, which attains consciousness. Because from here, these thalamus project this sensation, fibers, to the cortical area. It will project the fibers to the motor area? No, it will project the fibers, the axons which will arise from the neurons. Which neuron? That is the ventro-posterolateral nucleus. A very, very important one. Write it down. The ventro-posterolateral nucleus. In this ascending pathway, majority of the fibers after the second order neuron terminates in the ventro-posterolateral nucleus. Ventro-posteromedial nucleus is mainly for the trigeminothalamic tract. We will discuss later. Okay. So, from this ventro-posterolateral nucleus, what happens? Just lateral to that, I have drawn a V-shaped structure here. What is this? This is the bundle of white fibers. V pattern, what you are seeing here, either side of the thalamus laterally, this V-shaped structure is the internal capsule. That is the internal capsule it is. And internal capsule has got an anterior limb and the posterior limb. Isn't it? This one is the anterior limb and this is the posterior limb. So, now the axon which will originate from this ventro-posterolateral nucleus through this posterior limb, what happens through the posterior limb? It will project into the cortical area. inside the cortex now. Which cortex? The specific part of the cortex, that is the somatosensory area, isn't it? Because these are the sensory information. So sensory gyri should receive this sensation, not the motor gyri. So you have to understand this thing, that is the central sulcus. Suppose this is the right cerebral hemisphere. So there is the central sulcus here. Behind that there is the sensory area, sensory gyrus. Anterior there is a motor gyrus. So all these sensation, it is where it is going through the somatosensory area. Somatosensory area. And what is the nomenclature of this area? Area number 3, 1 and 2. Also to the secondary sensory area. Behind that, just behind this primary sensory gyrus, there is the secondary sensory gyrus also. There also it is going. The fibers from the posterior, ventroposterior lateral nucleus, all the axons which are emerging from this nucleus will go to the somatosensory area 1 and 2, which is situated behind the central sulcus inside the cerebral hemisphere. Now you see, we were taking all the sensory information from the left half of the body. I have told this is the left and this is the right. So from the left side, all the modalities of sensation, it will, where it is reaching now? It is reaching to the right thalamus. Okay, it is reaching to the right thalamus. So in the introduction right now I have said some few important key points. This point was that related with this dorsal medial lemniscus pathway, that is before reaching the thalamus it should cross. Either it cross inside the spinal cord or it crosses in the brainstem. So this pathway, this ascending pathway, the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, it goes, the fibers moves to the opposite side, not in the spinal cord, in the spinal cord. This tract, the dorsal column tract, it remains ipsilateral. A very important point you have to remember here. This dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, look here, it is ascending upwards, but in the same side. It is not crossing this dorsal median septum here, isn't it? But it has to cross because the sensation was coming from the left side, so it has to cross somewhere to go in the right side of the cerebral cortex. And the point is here, the site is here in the medulla oblongata. Once it synapse here with the second order neuron, that is the nucleus gracilis and the cuneatus, they will cross, and this crossing it is known as the internal arcuate fiber. And after that, the bundle of the axons or the tracts moves upwards, relaying the synapse here with the third order neuron, and then through the posterior limb of this internal capsule, that is projected to the sensory cortex of the cerebral hemisphere. After the crossing, after the formation of the internal arcuate fibers, this ascending pathway has got a very special name that is asked in the viva or the objective. What is that? This one. Anyone? Who will tell me? What is the name of this tract?
Medial.
Yes, very good. That is the medial lemniscus. There will be so many lemniscus. You have to trigeminal lemniscus, the spinal lemniscus. So please remember these lemniscus and what are the pathways. So this is the medial lemniscus. The very important point for the examination point of view, that is the medial lemniscus. Now again the pattern, the sensation, the whole body from head to toe. Okay, so in the previous lecture also we have discussed that in the dorsal column, dorsal funiculus, whether it is the fasciculus, gracilis, cuneatus, there is the somatotropic arrangement of the fibers. There is no overlapping. That means if the lumbar fibers crosses the thoracic fibers or the sacral fibers like that, here it is the just somatotropic arrangement. That means in the upper part, suppose this is the above T6, that means all the fibers are now have come reached up to the cervical segment. So what will be the arrangement of fibers from head to the leg to the cervical area? That is, legs are medially placed. That means the sacral, then the lumbar, then the thoracic, then the cervical. Isn't it? This is the somatotropic arrangement. Fibers coming from the leg will be the medial most fibers, and the fibers which are coming from the cervical area for the upper limb, that will be the lateral most, laterally situated. So this is the somatotropic arrangement of the fibers in this funiculus in the dorsal column pathway. There are no overlapping like that. That's why there are two different tracts. We have divided it below T6 and above T6. Below T6 you will get only the fasciculus gracilis, and the another name for that tract is tract of Gall, and above that this is the tract of Burden, isn't it? So it is like that. So this was the medial column, dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. Have you understood or not? This dorsal column, what type of sensation? It conveys to the higher center the fine touch, the pressure, fine touch and discriminative touch also, 2-point discrimination. What I have said, that one more sensation, stereognosis. It is carried by this dorsal column. What is stereognosis? Can anyone tell me what is stereognosis?
Ability to identify known objects by handling them
without seeing it. Yes, very good. Suppose I have closed my eyes and I pick something from the table. Then I am knowing that I have taken the duster, not the chalk. This is stereognosis. With your closed eyes, you are able to identify the texture and the shape, size of the object. Okay? Because both the size and shape are different, then you are able to identify this is the duster, this is the chalk with your closed eyes. So this is stereognosis, and this type of sensation, it is also stereognosis. It is often asked in objective, in the viva also, in the examination when you will ask from the brain. So this thing you should keep in mind. So this was the which tract? That is the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. Now come to the second one. These are the two terminologies here, spinocerebellar. That means sensation which will be coming from the periphery. It will not go to the cortical area. It will not attain consciousness. It will, where it will reach? It will reach only up to the cerebellum. So these type of sensation which are not gaining its consciousness, it is involved in some reflex activity. Those sensations, just this spinocerebellar tract, what does it mean? From the spinal cord to the cerebellar hemisphere, the sensation are going ascending upwards. Which type of sensation they are carrying with them? In this dorsal column we have discussed the conscious proprioceptive impulses, but the scene will be different here, just opposite. It is the unconscious proprioceptive impulses. The spinocerebellar tract, it carries unconscious proprioceptive impulses. Okay? Unconscious, because it is not going to the cortex. So what else other than the unconscious proprioceptive impulses? There are some exteroceptive impulses. In the recent study it has been seen that this spinocerebellar tract, other than the unconscious proprioceptive impulses, it also carries some exteroceptive sensation like the touch and pressure. Touch and pressure also, isn't it? So this tract is very important. So one by one we will read this spinocerebellar tract here. Now this spinocerebellar tract, In the previous class, in the white column, we have seen what is the position of the spinocerebellar tract, isn't it? So, look here. Here it is the lateral white column. Here it is the lateral white column. Both the sides. Isn't it? So, in the lateral white column, dorsal on the periphery, on the dorsal aspect or the posterior aspect, this is the tract of the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Okay? This is the position of the dorsal spinocerebellar tract in the spinal cord. Now ventral to this is the ventral spinocerebellar tract. One more tract is there. Can anyone tell me? Which tract? Spino-olivary tract. Very good. Spino-olivary tract. Spino-olivary tract. That means these tracts, the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, ventral spinocerebellar tract, the spino-olivary tract, and one more tract will be there, that is the cuneo-cerebellar tract. Cuneo-cerebellar tract. That means if you will divide this spinocerebellar tract, you will get a list of these tracts. It is not only one tract, mind it, first of all. There are so many tracts with different names. One is dorsal spinocerebellar tract. It is not only defined by its position, dorsally placed. The function is also different. Of the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, the ventral the tract originates from different levels. Of course, all the tracts will, the final termination will be in the inside the cerebellum, but the origin site is different. Different spinal segments it will arise in. Suppose dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Now come to one by one. This dorsal spinocerebellar tract. It is arising from which part? Which part of the body? The unconscious proprioceptive impulses will reach the cerebellum. Anyone?
Third lumbar segment of spinal cord.
Which?
Third lumbar segment.
It is not only the third lumbar. Have you heard the name of the Clark's column?
Yes, Clark.
Isn't it? Please don't forget. You have to remember. You have to remember the previous classes. Okay. So, Clark's column. We have already discussed the Rexed lamina. The whole of the grey matter was divided into the 10 laminae there. Okay. 1 to 6 was the sensory. Then 10 was around the central canal. 7 was in between. 8, 9. It is 8. Here it is the 9. Here it is the 7. And 1 to 6. 1 to 6 are present in the sensory framework. It was like that. Now, in the intermediate area, there was a Clark's column cell. Do you remember? Clark's column. There was a very specific position. This is the spinal cord here. You will get your answer. This is the spinal cord. But the Clark column cells are the cells which are present at the very specific segments of the spinal cord. It is not present above, it is not present below. There are specific segments. What is that segment for the Clark's column cell? C8 to L2 or L3. In some book it is written L2 or some book it is written L3. So whatever it is, from suppose this is the C8 level and here it is the L2. So the sets of the nucleus which are present on the either side of the spinal cord, these sets, okay, where it would be present in the seventh lamina at the medial aspect of the base of your greyhound, dorsal greyhound. This is the dorsal greyhound. Up to the 6th it was the sensory. In the 7th area, the medial position of the base of this dorsal greyhound, this was the Clark column cells, a very specific cells, and this was involved. A very important point. The Clark column cells give origin to which spinocerebellar tract? If the objective is asked from the Clark column cell, these Clark column cells, it is this which type of neuron? First order neuron, the second order neuron, or the third order neuron? This is one question. Anyone? Second order neuron. Very good. Because any sensation which will reach inside the sensory greyhound, it will synapse there with the Clark column cell, and then the fibers will cross to the same side. The sensation, the unconscious proprioceptive sensation along with some touch and pressure sensation from C8 to L3 segments. Understood? From the C8 to L3 segments, they will synapse with the Clark column cell, which is supposed to be the second order neuron. Isn't it? But the same sensation below L3 to coccygeal 1, with L3 to the coccygeal 1, the same type of sensation which is carried to the cerebellum, just below the L2 or L3, the tracts which will convey this area, the same sensation will be known as the anterior spinocerebellar tract or the ventral spinocerebellar tract. You get the point? There is the definition, the demarcation of these segments which gives the different tracts here, which is going to the cerebellum. Below L2 or L3, this is giving origin to the ventral spinocerebellar tract. Okay, just that means the ventral spinocerebellar tract, it ascends from the L3 to the coccygeal 1. From just look here, this was the Clark column only from the C8 to L3. What about the cervical 1 to the above segments of the spinal cord, which is supposed to be the nerves for the upper limb and the neck area, cervical area? So C1 to C8, still these nerves are spare for these type of unconscious proprioceptive impulses from these segments. So the fibers, the C1 to C8, the second order neuron cells which will give the axons from these spinal segments, the tracts will be going to the cerebellum. Now it will be known as the cuneo-cerebellar tract. What it will be known as? The cuneo-cerebellar tract. Cuneo-cerebellar tract. Isn't it? So cuneo, again look here. There was the cuneate nucleus for the upper part. From the suppose the upper limb and the neck area, the cervical area, there was the cuneate nucleus. Just lateral here, I have drawn a more nucleus for you all. In this diagram, this is the accessory cuneate nucleus. It is the accessory cuneate nucleus which will be involved in this cuneo-cerebellar tract. Once these tracts will synapse here, it will go in the cerebellum and then it will be known as the external arcuate fiber. Isn't it? Internal arcuate, I am just giving the introduction. In the next class, we will discuss in detail all the spinocerebellar tracts. Okay. So, in the sensory pathway, two terminologies, internal arcuate fibers and the external arcuate fibers. Internal arcuate fibers you are getting in this ascending pathway, that is the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. Okay. So, here it is. after the crossing of the fasciculus gracilis and the cuneatus fiber in the medulla oblongata. Once the sensation unconscious, these were carrying the conscious proprioceptive, but suppose the proprioceptive impulses, now it will reach from the upper limb and the cervical area to the cerebellum via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. After synapsing with the, what is this? Accessory cuneate nucleus, then the fibers which will arise from this accessory cuneate nucleus and it will go to the cerebellum via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. This will be known as the external arcuate fibers. Isn't it? So, here one major difference in the sensory pathway between this dorsal column or the other tracts and the tracts, ascending tracts which are reaching the cerebellum is that in these tracts they are crossing the opposite side, but the cerebellar tracts, what it will do? It will remain in the same side. This anterior spinocerebellar or the ventral spinocerebellar, it crosses the tracts inside the spinal cord. It will ascend upward up to the midbrain. There it will not relay synapse in the cerebellum. Again it will cross and it will move to the opposite side. That means it will cross twice in its pathway. So all these things we will discuss in detail in the next class, that is the spinocerebellar tracts and the other tracts which are remained today. Okay, so this was, so some important key points are there. There is need of a receptor for this and sensory pathway, need of the receptor. The 3-order neuron set is needed, but not necessary in the all ascending pathway. The 3-set order neurons are needed. Like the cerebellar tract, there is only 2 secondary order. There is no 3rd-order neuron here. Then 3rd-order neuron, if you are asking, then it will only directly in the cerebellar cortex, it will synapse with the cerebellar nuclei. So in the brainstem and the spinal cord, it is the only 2 for primary and the secondary order neurons for the cerebellar pathway. And it remains ipsilateral. That means right half of the body, right side of the cerebellum, left side of the body, then the left side of the cerebellum. If it is crossing also, then again it will cross to the same side. Okay, so it is like that. So in the next class we will discuss the spinocerebellar tract and the rest of the tracts. Okay.